Yo, what's good everyone? I wanted to share with you today exactly how I failed my first SMA, how I lost every single one of my clients in around the space of a week. So you can learn from it yourself, you can see what I did wrong, and I can share you through this learning experience that I had myself personally failing my first SMA. So let me first set the scene. So this is around October 2022. I just started my social media marketing agency. I was providing Facebook ads to e-com stores to obviously try and increase their revenue. Now this was my first agency that I'd ever run. I'd tried business models in the past, but obviously this is my first time ever running my agency. And yeah, so I was waking up at around 5:30 every single day to start writing my cold emails, because that's what I was told. I was told, send cold emails to e-com brands and you'll work. It'll work perfectly. So my schedule consisted of waking up at 5:30, collecting, sending, looking at reports, whatever it is to do with emails. And I used to send about 1,000 a week. And I know that might seem crazy to a lot of you. A lot of you are like, I sent 100 messages this week and I can't scale. That's just email. We were still doing cold DM. We were still doing cold calling, all of that just to scale our agency. Now, the reason I was doing this, because it probably seems a little bit too much, a little bit over the top, is because I just quit my warehouse job where I was working 7 till 7 to, and also I dropped out of college. So at this time I was meant to be in college. I was 17, which means in England, after school you have 2 years of college. It's not the same as America, but yeah, it was just sort of 2 more years of school that I had to do, and I just dropped out of it. The same with Luke, my business partner. He had an amazing sales job in London, and he took the risk as well with me. So it was sort of like you have to go and do this, you have to go and win, which I think is great in them situations, but that is the reason we had the schedule that we had. Now back to the story. So we were sending these emails and we'd built a sort of structure and business behind it. So we just hired this guy. I think his name was David. I'll pop a picture up on screen now of our interview process. You can see the setup wasn't the best. I had a little mic there. I had my learning books. I was trying whatever. You can't hate me for trying, right? So we just hired him off of Artwork. We'd literally just put a job post up asking if anyone's a media buyer that could actually run Facebook ads, correct? I think we did quite well. We had a bunch of people come to us and want to work, and then obviously we hired David. I think that's who it was. So we hired David. He had okay experience with e-com and sort of Facebook ads. He had a good portfolio that we could leverage. So we used his previous results to book calls, to sign clients, and sort of go from there. Now, since we were sending about 1,000 emails a week, there's no way that you can't land. I don't care if you're sending just cold emails. I don't care what you're doing. If you send 1,000 of anything, over time, you're going to start landing. So the compounding effect started to take place. First week, we didn't book a call. Second week, we didn't book a call. But after a while, so we started booking some consistent calls, right? And these, I remember, so my first sales call, my first ever sales call, quite a cool story, is I was on a call with a guy that used to do like I don't know what it was something to do with like UFC, worked with the UFC, and I was just blown away by it. I remember sitting, it wasn't this desk, but I remember sitting here, I was on the phone, I was calling him, I was like, is your business, I didn't know what to say. I was awful. And like over time you obviously get better, which I love about this business model and I love about life, is you just get better over time. But back to the story. So we were booking calls with garden companies. I remember a very vivid one was a actual pet. So they would sell, I think it was just cats and dogs. They would sell charms and stuff for them. We worked with them. Again, in the gardening, there was some in the gardening niche, but they were the main sort of ones that we were targeting. So it would sort of be like fashion and clothing and merch. And then it would be garden. And then the other one was pets. We had quite a few of them. Okay, so that was the main sort of consensus of who we were mainly working with. We didn't have a niche. We were just sending to who we could. And our media buy did have results in the garden niche. So that's sort of why we were going sort of landscaping niche. That's why we were sort of going over in that direction to sign clients from there. So after a while, again, as you get better, we were sending the outreach, we were looking at the reports from Lemlist, and we tried to do better and better and better. And we were putting all our money in. I think I was a few grand down at this point, because obviously our business hadn't made any money at this point. But I was down a lot of money, same as my business partner. So I was running low. So at this point, it was sort of do or die, right? We signed our first client, which was the pet owner, the pet store owner, used to sell the charms. So that is our first client that we signed, and then from there it was just sort of like a snowball effect. We scaled this agency, which isn't a lot, and now I think back to it now, and a lot of people are like, it's not really that much. But for my first agency, we were running at around $5,000 every single month, not profit, revenue. Okay, we were nowhere near that in profit. It was pretty cool to sort of talk about and just be like, yeah, I'm 17, I run a $5,000 a month business, I'm making $60,000 a year technically, right? So that was quite cool to sort of brag about. It didn't really do anything, and I think I got that out of my system, which was great. But yeah, so at 5k a month. Our email scrapers, our softwares, Lemlist, etc. are then paying our media buyer. I think we paid him about $600 per client, which meant we were on very low profit margins, generally like 10-20%. So we weren't taking anything, and the business was just stacking up a little bit for other stuff. But again, that would soon go when we were buying more emails. We were trying to increase, because that's what we thought had to be done. Just increase the volume. That's how we thought a business run. Okay. We didn't realize if we turned off this cold email the next week, our business would fail straight away. In the space, and this was just completely random in our eyes, and I'm going to go over sort of the reasons after and why everything went wrong. So at this point, we'd obviously been working with these clients for a while. We were able to retain one or two. Obviously, service delivery was never the best, but it was still doable. Okay, it was still okay. David wasn't bad. He wasn't bad by any means. He was always very decent, very average, right? So once we'd gone from here, we then started to lose clients. Okay, Luke put up a thing on his YouTube. You can probably see it now. I'll put it up on screen. It's just talking about how we lost one of our clients due to recession, and from there it just spiraled out of control. When they say it rains, it pours, and it really did in this case. We just kept losing client after client after client. Whether this was recession, they couldn't afford ad spend, whether they got swept up by another agency, whether they just weren't in the space anymore, whether they just wanted to change, whether we weren't hitting the guarantee or the results that we needed to. We just lost everything. Okay, we lost every single client that we had. I think we were left with like 1 or 2 clients. It wasn't a lot that we just got rid of anyway, because we just completely shut down the agency and completely moved on with the agency model that we were running, because we just sat and thought like, this doesn't actually work. We changed anyway, and obviously that was great. And how we actually were able to hit our first $10,000 a month was by changing, and sometimes you have to change vehicles to get to where you need to be. That's the sort of story on how I lost everything. I now want to go into what were the reasons I lost. So there are 3 reasons I've wrote down here and that I can sort of assess that have helped my businesses in the future go on further. But if you can write down now, I'd pause the video, write down what you sort of think they are and your ideas on what went wrong with this business. It's actually quite a good exercise, and it's what one of my mentors did with me. He would give me like a case study and be like, okay, what's wrong with this business? And you can really start to identify what's wrong with what you're doing. Okay, so write down what you would change, what you think was wrong, why you think we actually lost every single one of our clients and our business failed. The first one is team. So a few problems here, not only with the media buyer but ourselves. Okay, if our main focus is just purely acquisition, which it was, waking up at 5:30 a.m, writing first lines, writing personalized emails, scraping leads, etc., absolutely everything, where will that take your business? Where would it take your business if you're only focused on acquisition? Okay, I'll tell you now personally, like authentically, I had no back-end system. It was all down to our media buyer to deliver the results. I didn't have an SOP for him. I didn't have any look in on what they were doing. It was just, you do that. That's your job. Okay. And I thought my main job as a business owner was acquisition. But at that point, I realized I'm literally just a VA. Okay. That's all I'm doing is a VA. And I could probably outsource myself and give myself more time to build a bit of acquisition system and also build a better service delivery system instead of my team leaving. Okay. So first was too much of my time was consumed on things that was propelling my business forward, but wasn't propelling my business forward at the rate that I needed it to be. Okay. I needed to oversee the whole business, not just one area of acquisition, because getting new clients is not always the main goal. Okay. It's always better to focus on what will retain current clients than get new clients, because by the time you get new clients, that you're going to be able to retain them longer than continuously getting new clients. Okay. So that would have been the first thing that I would have focused on. Secondly, I would have definitely invested in programs for the media buyer, maybe training for him, or maybe just looked over the campaigns every week. I never hopped on a call with him. When I say he did what he did what he did. Okay. There needs to be weekly calls, okay? And this is what I love about it, is like I can learn a lot, and hopefully you can learn a lot from it as well. It's like I hop on weekly calls every single week with my team to make sure they're doing something, okay? I've been building for the past 2 months. I haven't sent a single piece of outreach, and we've limited the amount of people that can come on board with our company. Like if you came to us and you weren't maybe the best of fits, we just say no right now, because I spent the last 2 months building the best service delivery ever, and we're still going on it, okay? We're still doing that, because that's a lesson that I've learned, is like acquisitions cool and all, but if you don't have an amazing product that can get the best results, because none of these people would have left if I would have got them a 20 times ROI, would they? No, that's not true. Okay, they wouldn't have done. So even if I had to add to my service, if I had to change my service, if I had to learn it myself and do different things differently and motivate my team and give them incentives, I would have done that, and I would have been able to scale it a lot further, is because everyone would have been motivated. I would have known what I was actually doing, and my clients would have got the best result, okay, which they didn't. that's why they left. I can blame it on external factors, and back then we blamed it on like the recession, ad budget. But if we would have just made them more money, they could have just paid us the same amount of money, right? It doesn't make sense, but obviously it was a denial phase. But now looking back on it, yeah, complete failure. Now, number 2 was the acquisition process, okay? Now, the problem with cold email is once you send a cold email, normally you have to aim to get a booked call straight away, because it's very hard to communicate in the emails. You don't want it to get lost, etc. And it's just, I just don't like cold email. I just don't like how they can get lost, how they get put in spam. I just don't like cold emails whatsoever now. But what I would have done is I would have changed my acquisition process, because our open rate sometimes wasn't bad. Like I said, we personalized every single subject line. We personalized the first line, which means when they read the little text, it would have told a story about them. Maybe they went on holiday here. Maybe they sold this, or they did something in correlation to what I was trying to say. Most of the time they would have opened it, but when they read it and see booked call, we can hop on a call this week, you've read this week for a call, they just turn off straight away. Now, the approach that I use nowadays is a VSL approach, and that's what I would have used back then. I wouldn't have maybe used a VSL approach. I would have gone maybe an opt-in, free value, a community, etc., because it's a lot easier and there's a lot less constraint on them saying yes to can I send you over some free training. There's a lot less constraint to that. I can then have their email. I can then opt them into lists. I can then add them to a community. I can be like, perfect, join this, and we can add you to the community and you can get the free training. Bang. We now have a community of people who are warm, perfect lead, interested in what we're selling, having the exact same constraint that we're giving value on and are probably services on. So let's say instead of not booking a call every week, I could have got 10 people in the group out of 1,000. This is low. I'm just saying low. And I could have signed one of them every single week, which would have kept my business afloat, because over time more would have done. Okay, I would have then invited 20 and 2 people to join it, but then that next week another 2 from that 20 would have joined. Okay, so I'm then just compounding my business over time, and it's what I do now. I have communities. I give free value on problems to make sure that they scale off the back of it, because if someone takes that free training, it's only a matter of time before they buy into you. So that's a massive lesson that I learned, is like cold outreach is dead. For one, cold outreach trying to book a call is completely dead. There's nothing to it. It's gone. Don't try it. It's pointless. But now it's either like you build a brand, which I think is great, or even just try and get them to get into something, a community or an email opt-in, or get them into some type of possession that you own. The sort of business world is in communities now. If you own the community, whether this is your following, whether this is an email newsletter, an opt-in, whether this is a Facebook community, a Discord community, if you own the people and you own where their attention is at, you can win every single second of the day. You just win over every other person, because you have them on your team. Now, if someone cold DMs them and they're in your community, why would they not, if they were looking for that solution, they just pay the person they're in a community with? There's more trust, they built more rapport with them. It just makes more sense for them to go and join them. Okay, so maybe changing acquisition processes in your business now to try and get more value per prospect than just trying to book straight for calls, because you're just missing leads. They may not be warmed up now, they may be warmed up in the next 6 months, but guess what? If you own them in the community, the email opt-in, they're going to join at some point. Now, finally, the best one is like, I wouldn't listen to what I was being told. The reason why my business failed is because it was built on what I was told to do. Now, we used to follow obviously a lot of people higher than us, and that's what you're meant to do. But if you consume the wrong information is going to take you to a broken business. So obviously ecom, very oversaturated. Facebook, we had no leverage, no testimonials, nothing really to get into the space with. We had no brand behind us. We were just told to cold email. And when you sit and think about it logically, and this is what I tell everyone to do now, if you've been watching my channel for a while, is like, I tell you to sit for 5 seconds and think about it. Does it make sense? Okay, emailing where it could get lost, they get 100 emails a day to do Facebook ads, where if they wanted Facebook ads, they'd go to the best company in the game, or they'd have it in-house. Would it make sense? No. Okay, and I made videos on this after, like, it doesn't make any sense, but I was in the trap straight away. So if I ever tell you something, sit and think, does that make sense? Maybe it doesn't make sense. Okay, so that, like, just sit and think of what anyone says to you and make sure it makes sense before you go ahead and sort of act on it. Now, what I find funny is, obviously in that situation I felt completely lost. I was like, okay, my business has failed, my life is over. Luckily I did have that perseverance, and not even perseverance, it was like, I have to do this. It's too embarrassing to go back to my job. It's too embarrassing to say, yeah, this business isn't working. But these are all learning lessons. Okay, when you lose, every time you lose in life, it's just a lesson. Okay, an L is just a lesson, because you learn from things, and everything that I've just discussed in my business is now incorporated and foolproof in my current business. So whatever I did wrong back then, I do right now. I'll never do wrong again. And whatever I keep doing wrong, I will then correct it to doing right. Okay, the team thing, I have team meetings every week. I invest in programs, mentorships for them. I'm on top of them. I kind of know the service delivery, and I get behind on what they're doing to make sure that they're hitting the goals. I have daily reports, daily KPIs, tracking, everything like that. The team can't go bad. Acquisition, I push for VSLs. I have communities. I have a personal brand. I don't try and go straight for the cool book. I try and own my audience for them to buy off me. Perfect. Okay, now listening to other people. I will only listen to people I have one-on-one direct contact with, because courses are too broad, videos are too broad. I would rather speak to the person. If I had a video like this in front of me nowadays, and I was like, okay, this person is kind of speaking the truth, I'd pay them straight away for a one-on-one, because my time is more important to me than a few thousand, whatever it is, dollars. I'd rather speak to them one-on-one and get direct advice for my business, okay, because I'm more of a man that would like to spend my money and save my time and save my effort in the chance of doing that, okay? So whatever L you take, make sure you do take it as a lesson. You don't get discouraged. You don't sort of move on easily, because at this point I could have quit. I probably should have quit looking back on it now, right? I've lost everything. I've lost all my clients. I've lost all my business. My SMA has failed, right? My SMA has died. Another business model failed. It should have just, oh, it doesn't work. It doesn't do this. That's what I should have done, okay? But I carried on, and it's amazing now that I did carry on, because I know what not to do and what to do. But apart from that, hopefully you enjoyed the story. You took some valuable lessons, and you don't end up like myself, and you can actually have a very smooth sailing SMA career. Okay, but apart from that, I'll see you boys soon. Peace.